Welcome in the latest episode of That SEC Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined, as always, by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Vols on Twitter. What's up, you old Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Presented by Twisted Tea. Doing great, brother. And, man, we got camps, of course, going all across the SEC. We hit on a lot of East teams. I didn't even mean to do this, Shane, but, you know, sometimes genius is purely by accident. And last episode, we talked a lot of the East. This episode, we're going to talk a lot of the West. And we got the debut of the Coaches Poll, Shane, which I know we don't care too much about these rankings, and we certainly don't spend a ton of time on them week in, week out, but the first ones are always kind of fun. So yeah, I'm ready to do on a little deep dive on the Coaches Poll here.
Yeah, me too, man. We got hit today over here in East Tennessee with a pretty bad storm. I hope everybody's all right out there. But we had no power for like 4 hours, man. Felt like the 1800s, you know. We're running around here with candles. It's starting to get hot in here, and I don't know what's going on with all the football and, you know, that's going around the country. So as soon as the power came back on, I spent a good 25 minutes scrolling my feed to see if I missed anything because the news is flying out today, Mike.
Well, I'll tell you what, buddy, I bet during all that mayhem over there at your house, one thing that was completely secure, Shane, shout out Game Time Sidekicks and that stainless steel cup you got there. The podcast brought to you by Game Time Sidekicks. Head on over to GameTimeSidekicks.com and use that promo code at the checkout, SEC, for 20% off your entire order. This is a small business, Shane, and so many people ask us, how do they help the podcast? More than anything else, Shane, we do all these shows. They're always free. They always will be free as long as people take advantage of these sponsorship opportunities. That's how we're going to keep us. Oh, game time is here. But Shane, this is NCAA officially licensed tumblers here, sippy cups. I even got dog bowls for my dogs that are going crazy in the background. Cannot recommend Game Time Sidekicks enough. And again, all this information in the show notes. Game Time Sidekicks, promo code SEC for 20% off your entire order.
And I spent 45 minutes like an idiot looking for where to put the promo code. Just continue to check out, and when you get to checkout, that's when you put it in, and it's going to bump your percent up to 20%. So come on, help us out here.
Yeah. But all right, buddy, let's start. Let's just go by the Coaches Poll. That way we can hit on a ton of these SEC teams. And real quick, I'm going to go over what do we got here? It's like 7 teams that are ranked in the preseason coaches poll, Shane. Number 1, Tennessee.
About time we got some recognition.
No, number 1, of course, Georgia. Even though they're playing the disrespect card, Shane, 61 first place votes out of like 60, I think 66, 67. So virtually everybody in the country's got Georgia number 1. No debate on that one. Alabama.
Mike, let me throw this out there because I wanted to throw this out there. Chuck Dunlap, SEC Chuck, everybody knows him, put out there November 1st, 2020 was the last date that a team from the SEC was not ranked number 1 in the nation.
Wow. I mean, what an incredible stat, but I got to be honest, Shane, I'm not surprised at all. Are you?
No. I just want to throw that out there in case the Big Ten and the Big 12 decide to power up again, you know, and become the giant conference that will never be number 1.
Next up, Shane, Alabama, number 3 in the preseason poll. They got 4 first-place votes. They're the only other SEC team to get a first-place vote in the preseason coaches poll. LSU, number 5, no surprise there. So we got 3 of the top 5 in the preseason poll. Your Tennessee Vols, not kidding this time, Shane, number 10, preseason top 10. That ain't bad for Josh Heupel and company. Mm-hmm. And then, Shane, I'm already catching blowback. Go.
You know, the last time Tennessee was preseason top 10 in the offseason? 1998, baby.
Are you sure it's not 99? I mean, I would have thought. I think 98 they came out of nowhere. I think they were like preseason 20.
No, I read something off Twitter. It wasn't fact checked, so we're just going to roll with it, Mike.
Okay. And I'm already catching some blowback here, Shane. Why the hell am I throwing these in? Because they're SEC to us, brother. We're embracing Texas and Oklahoma. They're next on the list. Texas, preseason number 12 in the country. Give you an indication of the hype with the Longhorns. Annual hype there. We'll see if that translates to the SEC or not. Number 19, Oklahoma, coming off, they had a down year, but still respect there for the Sooners in the top 20 preseason. Ole Miss, Shane, 22 in the country. And this is the only one that I object to, Shane. And hell, we've been singing this team's praises. I'm not sitting here crapping on them already. They haven't even played a game. But I think they got to earn this distinction before we just throw them up there again. And that's Texas A&M, who rounds out at number 25. Do you like Texas A&M being ranked? Do you think they should have to earn it? Or are we giving them the benefit of the doubt? Kind of like we are, not us, but the pollsters, Texas and Oklahoma. You could certainly argue they didn't do much to earn a ranking here. But what's your thoughts on A&M being 25th in the preseason coaches poll?
Here's the thing about these rankings, Mike. And I'd like to. I'm an idiot, and so when I hear coaches poll in my little brain, I think the head coach is putting in a vote. Is that kind of how this thing works, or is that just dumb?
That's how it's supposed to be. But
okay. So each team has a vote, basically, on the ranking.
And it's not all the head coaches. I don't know how many they do, but I know there's only about 6 or 7 this year from the SEC that are casting a ballot in this thing. And it's really not even the coaches, Shane. It's the sports information directors. I'm sure they run it by Coach Saban and say, who you want? Saban's not – he ain't got time for this nonsense.
Yeah. No. And that's, the only reason I say that is because I think Texas A&M is a top 25 team. So I think they do belong in the top 25 here. But I get it. I get some of the negative people out there that think they've got to earn it, if like you said, but – no, I don't think so. I think they should have finished last year in the top 25. They just didn't. So yeah, right. I'm okay with them here.
Okay, so then these are the teams, Shane, not yet in the rankings, but right outside. And this is kind of where I want to put my focus just while we talk about this. Which of these teams you think really they missed the mark, should be ranked, or maybe even if they're not quite ranked, should be higher on this list? So let's run through these real quick, Shane. Number 27, South Carolina Gamecocks. Seeing a lot of upset fans down there in Columbia. We should be ranked. Whooped Tennessee, whooped Clemson, finished strong. So that there's some debate there. Number 28, Florida. That's stunning to me, Shane. I mean,
yeah,
this is another one. They got to earn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not on the level of A&M, but, technically they had a better season than A&M, but that's very interesting. Kentucky, number 32. That's kind of the one I've got circled right now. Arkansas, 35. I think they deserve a little bit more respect than that. Auburn, 39. Mississippi State, 42. And I guess I already know the answer, Shane. Missouri Tigers, 44. Who should be getting more respect out of the coaches?
Well, this is teed up nicely. MIZ, baby. They should be in the top 25. I think this is an absolute joke, because you're saying 44 teams are better than Missouri right now. Put them on a neutral field, see what happens.
Yeah, no doubt. Missouri, hell, basically all these. I don't know if I would. We got high expectations.
Random number, Mike. Who's number 36? I don't even know. I don't have this list here. Do you have it?
I do not know.
Oh, well, shit. I shouldn't have done random then. Never mind. You don't even care. You know what? You shouldn't, Mike, because that's disrespectful. I mean, these lists, I try not to give them too much because it really doesn't matter. Not at the start of the season, Mike. Now, it may – at the end of the season, we're going to obviously care where they're ranked, but they'll have a body of proof behind them. So I am not using it. These teams that have been left out, and I'm looking at you, Mizzou. I'm looking at you, Arkansas. I'm definitely looking at you, Kentucky. South Carolina, right there on the fringe. You guys should put this in the locker room, and I know they will, man. This is the material they need to fuel them this season. The fans are bought in. The players are buying in. Now it's time to go out and show why you belong in the top 25. So, yeah, I'm not worried about this list at all because it's going to change in 3 weeks.
Well, yeah, I hear you. I'm not worried either, Shane, but I'm trying to throw a bone to these fans. So just quickly, my thought, you nailed it there. I think Kentucky should certainly be ranked. I think we give it to South Carolina. And, hey, I've been down on this team, Shane, but I can't sit here and say A&M's got to earn it and then turn a blind eye to Mississippi State, who won 9 games and brings back some key pieces. They have earned it. So why the hell are they sitting here at 42 when they beat a lot of these teams? So I would rank Mississippi State as well. I think they should be a top 25. I don't know if they'll finish there. It's a rugged SEC West, but you got to give Mississippi State more respect than number 42, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a good one. Hell, I even forgot him off the list. I'm part of the disrespect. Sorry about them Bulldogs.
All right, Shay, let's kick it around the SEC, and we got – this is a unique time for, like we had Bobby Petrino clips on the last episode. We'll never hear from him again, Shane. And same deal with Tommy Rees and Kevin Steele, Alabama's coordinators this year, because that's the rule. That's the rule Saban put in, so Kirby's got it, and Jimbo's got it, and many others. You get to talk to these guys one time, and by God, you better hope they give you something because that'll be it for them. So let's start with Tommy Rees, the offensive coordinator down there. So much speculation on what Alabama will look like, who the quarterback will be, what's this guy from Notre Dame doing, who, depending on who you ask, they're happy he left from up there. So let's kick it over first to Tommy Rees, Shane, on the fact that, and I like these comments. I know I've given him a very hard time this offseason, but it would have been stupid for him to come in here and say, hey, we're running the Tommy Rees system. Yeah. Everybody get on my page. He knows who the boss is. He's going with exactly what Nick Saban wants to run down there in Tuscaloosa.
Coach, in the past, rather offensive coordinators that have been here like Brian Daboll, Mike Loxley, obviously Bill O'Brien, they say Coach Saban wants you to learn the offense as opposed to bringing in your own system. Is it almost like going back in time and learning a whole new offense, and how steep has that learning curve been for you?
Yeah, first of all, I think it's the right way to do it. There's been a system in place here for however many years, and you have players here that are familiar with terminology, with what you're trying to accomplish. And so to say one guy's going to come in here and change everything would be the wrong way to approach it. I full-heartedly agree with that. The learning curve is what it is. I don't find it to be too steep at all. I think when you have a general base knowledge of the game, there's only so many run plays you can run, only so many pass concepts you can have. It's just training your brain to switch how you call it. So really wasn't a steep learning curve at all. This offense obviously has been prolific over the last decade, and to come in here and say we're going to change all these things would be foolish. There's certain things that we want to do or alter or look at to enhance it, but a wholesale change would never make sense. And so, there are still times where, you got to remind yourself, hey, this is, we're calling it this. And again, we have a great staff, great support staff with our analysts and GAs that help us, with all those issues and all those little things. But our players have really bought into what we're asking them to do. And, for me to come in and learn the system was really a smoother transition than maybe, I anticipated.
All right, Shane. So again, that was promising to hear, and Nick Saban has made it very clear. I love his Tommy Rees. I love this guy. I love the hire, and I thought it was funny. I think it was when I was on with Paul Feinbaum, Shane. He said, "I never heard him say that about Lane Kiffin."
I think with Tommy here, man, it's like kind of what he's saying here. We didn't need him to reinvent the wheel down there in Tuscaloosa, but obviously there was some moments last year that you were scratching your head saying, this ain't Alabama. What are we doing here? I think obviously they're going to get back to a little bit of that ground and pound. You're going to hear some players talking in a minute, but I think that's the key here is making the good decisions, not changing the offense, but being a little bit better scripted and situational football,
Right. And I just want to give a shout out, Shane, to Ty Simpson, Jalen Milroe, the quarterbacks at Alabama, because it is just assumed nowadays, and for good reason, because it happens so often, but when you bring a quarterback in via transfer, then by God, quarterbacks are leaving via transfer. But that has not happened down here at Alabama, Shane, and I think we'll kick to Tommy Rees here in just a second, but I think he's dead on. It speaks to the culture. I think what it really says is these two players are not quitters. They're not going to run for a challenge. And obviously there's only one football and only one quarterback can play on the field. And they got 4 or 5 down there at Alabama right now and 3 vying for this starting role. And one of them has obviously played for Tommy Rees, so you'd think he'd have an edge in that competition. But that's not the way Tommy Rees is seeing it when we're talking Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe.
Kind of piggybacking off that, what does it say about both Jalen and Ty that they stuck around after you bring in a guy from the portal, and what kind of progress have you seen from those two?
Yeah, I think they've both improved greatly from the spring. I think there's been an extra buy-in, since spring ball ended and just doing more and doing extra to get themselves prepared. I think it shows, first of all, a great amount of character, a great amount of competitiveness for those two guys, but it also shows a love for their teammates and a love for being here. And honestly, it speaks volumes about the program that guys want to stay here. And so I think it's really special that, in this age of college football, especially at the quarterback position when guys are so eager to leave, that two guys looked at an opportunity to stay here, to care about their teammates, to continue to improve. And, ultimately we're trying to build as healthy of a room as we can. And they understood that competition can bring out the best in them. And, they've been great, the entire process, throughout. And, I don't expect that to change.
Now, there's some speculation, Shane. I know it's early, and everybody wants to know who's the quarterback going to be at Alabama, and I don't think there is an answer because I don't believe they've come to that determination, Shane. But don't be surprised at all if both these guys play and they play them in packages because they're so unique. Jalen Milroe is such a gifted athlete, and Ty Simpson, he's got the most potential, but I have been hearing a little bit of that. I think we could see packages for both of these guys, which would be pretty interesting, and maybe that all goes out the window if it's Tyler Buchner who's the starting quarterback. I don't know, but I just thought it was important to sit here and everyone bashes these guys and they when they leave, like I said, so many players hitting the portal. We need to kind of honor the guys that are sticking it out, and clearly because they love Alabama and they want to lead the Crimson Tide this fall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's the piece. We've talked about, I think somebody gave me a hard time because we put revenge tour out there in like 3 years in a row, I mean, how many revenge tours are we going to have? But I feel like that, obviously this quarterback situation, if it could get hammered out early, Alabama's got a really good shot to have a hell of a season. Mike, my eyes are going to be glued to that MTSU game. I think, getting ready for Texas the following week, they're going to have multiple quarterbacks out there. And I wouldn't make that an alarming sound. I'm not worried if I see multiple because I think they're going to have their idea of one, maybe 2 guys in camp ready to come out, and they're going to be able to separate that the first week, and then all of a sudden whoever wins that job is going to be playing the entire game during Texas. That's how I imagine it happening. But again, you got a new OC, you got new eyes on the program, and who knows how this thing exactly plays out, but they got 3 capable guys down there to run this system. We need a game manager, Mike. We don't need Bryce Young. We don't need Tua. We need somebody that goes out here, doesn't throw interceptions, doesn't make dumb mistakes, and let the rest of the offense win these games.
Yeah, and I think that's well said, Shane, because that's kind of what J.C. Latham at Media Days was saying, and that's what's been echoing here in camp, Shane. Tyler Booker, their star offensive lineman, was asked about it's kind of funny comment. Tommy Rees wanted to be an offensive lineman if he could do it all again, and then he gets into the identity that these Alabama a lineman want to have as fall. And if they're able to pull this off, Shane, well, I think they're going to be pretty damn good down there.
Yeah.
Tommy Rees says that if he could go back in time and play a different position, he'd be a pulling guard. First off, what do you think about, just from his personality, about how he'd do at that? And then second of all, what is it like having an offensive coordinator that kind of likes that tough, hard-nosed mentality?
First of all, I don't think Coach Rees has the frame for it, but knowing how he likes to call plays, I think he has the mentality for it for sure. And just having an offensive coordinator who has that run-first mentality, has that, yeah, we're gonna pass the ball as a compliment to the run. That's very reassuring to the offensive line, especially ours. Like we want to make people quit this year, and there's no better way to do that rather than to run the ball. You know, so we're gonna run the ball this year. We're gonna pass the ball as well because we have a lot of talented guys at receiver. We have a lot of guys that can throw the ball very well. So just having that run first mentality as an offensive line, that just gets us going because we want to make people quit.
All right, brother. So they want to make people quit on the field. I mean, it's easier said than done, but man, do they got the linemen to do it?
Yeah, they do.
With a new identity, new offensive coordinator, you know, this is what they're trying to do. But these comments should be scary to the rest of the SEC. You know what?
Yeah, we didn't get to talk to a lot of Alabama guys up there, and that's one of the questions I wanted to ask is just how offended were you with some of that play last year? Because when your coach is coming out and saying we need to throw the ball as an offensive line, when it's a yard, when it's 2 yards, you're saying we can't get that. You can get that. This is Alabama, and I think there's going to be a little pride, and you could kind of feel it with these comments here. These boys want to prove the world wrong. They want to run the ball. They want to get back to that. Now, obviously, you're going to have to throw the ball, and you know, I mean, that's the day and age that we're in. But when it's 1 yard, 2 yard, you don't want to have to rely on a quarterback to make some kind of miraculous pass, or you know, you want to line up, pin your ears back, and beat the shit out of whoever's in front of you.
Yeah. All right, one last one. I swear this is not the Alabama show, Shane, but like I said, we'll never hear from these
Paul Feinbaum. Where's he at?
We'll never hear from these coordinators again. So I just wanted to play this clip specifically for you, buddy. Kevin Steele, the new defensive coordinator. I say new. He's been there 3 times now as an assistant. Now he's back. But very interesting comments here, Shane. He didn't want to reveal much of anything in an entire press conference, but if you read between the lines, he's clearly talking about one team that they're prepping for already down there in Tuscaloosa.
You touched on this a minute ago, but can you just speak a little bit more specifically about how much defense in college football has had to adjust the last 10, 12 years with fast break, spread, rule changes, all that?
Right. It is a challenge defensively right now in terms of the tempo. Several years back kind of started the thing. And then the multiplicity of formations has gone off the roof in terms of that. You know, we even have people that if they spread out any further, they'd be on the sideline. They'd be on the bench. You know, they're using the whole thing. And so those kind of things that have happened, but then also the RPOs and then the look, that the eye candy that goes with that, play action type stuff, where you've got pullers and running backs going opposite, which that's going down the exit ramp, you know.
All right, Shane, so you bet your ass Nick Saban's still fuming over the 50-plus he gave to Josh Heupel's Tennessee Vols last year. And I just thought, you know, based on what Kevin Steele has said, I mean, he basically outlined it here. You know, we are gunning for this offense that we had no answers for last season. And, you know, that's part of the reason he's down there. But does this scare you at all when you hear Kevin Steele talking about, clearly he's talking about Josh Heupel's offense here?
Well, yeah, and it's not just him. I mean, we're going to deal with a little bit more spread this year with some of the coaches we got. But, I you know, it's just like radars, man. You know, the radars with the cops are trying to get you, catch you speeding. Well, then they come out with the radar detector. Well, then they come out with a nicer radar that can detect those. You know, so they're just back and forth. It's the same concept with these new offenses and defenses. They've been doing it for 100 years, Mike. There's some new spin on things, and the defense tries to find a way to figure it out. So yes, there were going to be probably some more practices, geared around some of this up-tempo offense, these spread offense like Tennessee that, like he said, hell, they're almost on the bench. You know what I'm saying? If you're not used to that, or if you don't have practice for that during the year, well, people that are playing, not just Tennessee, hell, you may be going against name a team, and they're looking at the tape that worked with Tennessee. They're going to implement some of that, so they're going to always take pieces. And if you're not prepared, they're going to bite you. So, this is Coach Steele, man. I'm not saying that he could stop it, but I'm saying there's going to be ways to slow it down.
Yeah. All right, Shane. Next, let's kick it on down to Arkansas, where our man Sam Pittman recently met with the media, and boy, they sound pretty fired up, Shane, about this receiving core. And you got to remember, last year it was basically the same situation here. Had to bring in all these transfers, didn't quite know what they had. And that's what we talked about all offseason is, man, what will they get out of these receivers that have not played here? Well, all they did, Shane, is they had 2 receivers finish in the top 10 in the SEC in receiving yards. And I don't want to put that on these guys just yet. But they sound pretty fired up with the guys they got down there in Fayetteville.
The receivers and the guys who were younger, Jadon Wilson and that group are going to be SEC-level receivers. But we watch Andrew Armstrong today. I was going to ask you about the receiving core, and then Andrew Armstrong just is making catches right now.
Yeah, I think KJ will be able to answer that better than I do, but not right now. But he can answer it here in a minute. But he's fast, and he's big. It's kind of, I'm an old D2 player, where I was in AIA, but they're D2 now. It's kind of neat to bring a couple guys from Division II ball that had, they both, I think, had about 1,000 yards in catches, and then, they developed later. And here comes Armstrong, and he's fast and big. We was talking about it actually on the golf cart ride over here because he had made a catch from KJ in a 2-minute drill. And he's I think KJ really believes in him and those things, but you got him and Tesla, and I was excited about Sategna. He did some good things today. Part of it was his blocking, his ability to go in there and mix it up. But with Wilson and Baque and those guys, I just feel like we're going to have a nice receiver core, and we certainly have the size that we need out there.
All right, Shane, so shout out Andrew Armstrong, who I think they got at like Texas A&M Community College or something crazy like that. Isaac Tesla from a small school. I don't even know where he played, but it was D2, I believe. And then I've been praising Sategna. Yeah, I can't wait for him. And in another clip here, Shane, he also talked about they added an offensive lineman from Florida, Josh Braun, who was committed to Sam Pittman at Georgia. And then Sam Pittman got the Arkansas job, so Braun went to Florida. Now he's transferred in at Arkansas, and he sounds like he's plugged into right guard to likely start for the Razorbacks. So, hey, I said it many times before, Shane, and this is just a recent example. Yes, they give Lane Kiffin the Portal King title, but it really feels like Sam Pittman is that guy, and all his coaches, not just Sam Pittman, but it's the Arkansas Razorbacks that take these guys and plug them in and get them playing their best football. And it sounds like they've done it on some key pieces here on their offense that they're going to need this year.
Yeah, it's almost like they're not bringing in question marks. They're bringing in plug-in plays, and I love that. They continue to do that. That's going to help them in the future when they're in the portal talking to somebody saying, hey, man, we're going to start you immediately. And they got a track record of showing that. So, yeah, Sam's cool, calm, and collective. I like that. I'd like to go on a golf cart ride with him. I don't think we both fit in the front, but, I'd still like to take him around, have some cold beers and talk about this football team. And credit to the media team, brother. I don't know if you've been paying attention, and I don't know if I'm some sort of algorithm loop here, but I'm seeing just about every highlight that comes out of there. So I'm seeing these receivers. I'm seeing Rocket run over everybody. Nobody wants to tackle that big old bastard. So it's hard not to get excited about them Razorbacks.
Yeah, well, another reason they're excited, Shane, on the defense too. They're hitting some key transfers. And last thing from Pittman here, Shane, hyping up Jaheim Singletary, the former 5-star that they got from Georgia. Shane, I just thought Sam Pittman's comments here were pretty great here.
the way some people I know in Georgia were talking about Singletary, it was like, yeah, he's going to be real good, but he's real skinny. He was actually pretty.
He's not skinny anymore.
No, he's made quite a
Nor
transformation.
am I, but I mean that's another topic.
He going to help y'all this year?
Absolutely, there's no doubt in my mind he'll help us. And no, he's a big, thick guy, that can run. And we didn't get him to develop. We were going to develop, but we need some help. So he got to get out there as quick as possible. And there's good battles going on at that corner spot. I really like the guys we have out there. And like I say, if some of them guys can develop, maybe we can add a safety somewhere, out of that group, which would help us.
All right, Shane. So, St. Pittman fired up about Singletary, and they didn't bring him in here to develop. They brought him in here to contribute right away, and that's what they're going to need him for.
Yeah, they're working out depth on that side, and he mentioned safeties. It's like you're going to find a spot for these boys because they're going to have to play. And that's what hurt us last year, the injuries are getting banged up, especially in that secondary. So you got to be ready to roll. There is no wait.
Yep. All right, Shane, hey, little break from the action real quick to remind the audience we're brought to you by Manscaped. Shane, head on over to manscaped.com/SEC podcast. They're going to hook all our listeners up, Shane. Same promo code as Game Time Sidekicks, SEC, 20% off your entire order and free shipping. And that's international shipping too over at manscaped.com. Shane, college football is back. Trim up that beard with the Beard Hedger Pro kit, Shane. And it comes with shampoo, conditioner, beard oil, beard balm, and their travel case, Shane. I mean,
I still use it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We've had the travel case. They sent us products a couple years ago. I still use that product, and I still use the travel case. It really is high-quality stuff. And I've said it many times. I continue to say it, Shane. You want to help the podcast. You need to get a gift for somebody here. Christmas right around the corner. Birthdays, holidays, what have you. Just get them a gift because you're supporting the podcast. Head on over to manscaped.com and look up the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. And don't forget to use that promo code, Shane, SEC, to get 20% off your entire order and free shipping over at Manscaped.
They say, I don't put conditioner in my beard. Well, have you ever tried it?
Well, I know who does if he had one, Shane, is Jimbo Fisher down there at College Station. Oh, man. So, Jimbo, again, people are reading into, it was admittedly kind of awkward at media days and leading up to it. But now that season's here, it seems like he's let his guard down a little bit here. And I just thought these comments he had about Bobby Petrino and how, it seems like a mutual respect all the way around.
Yeah.
And the more I hear, the more fired up I get about this Texas A&M football team. Let's kick it over to Jimbo talking Bobby Petrino and the thought process on bringing him in.
What are the qualities that Bobby Petrino has that made you want him on your staff, and how do you think he will help your team this year?
We've been very productive as a head coach, as an offensive coordinator, and also philosophically, a lot of the things he believes and how he looks at the game and the way we did. Like I said, we've known each other a long time. And studied each other's film a long time. Schemes, schematics, run game, and he has balance. It's not just all throw, it's not just all pass. It's a balanced attack that attacks and can use different weapons and has done it in times. He's had great tight ends, he's used he had great backs, very similar in philosophical nature, and a very proven guy who has a great mind for the game and does a great job teaching and getting great production. I've always had a lot of respect for him, even we've been known each other for a long time.
All right, Shay, so again, I don't know how anybody can hear these comments and sit here and say, trouble a brewing down there in College Station. But people are doing it regardless. Is that just, you think they just already had that in their head and they won't let it go, or what's the deal?
No, I think Jimbo's finally listening to this damn podcast, Mike. And if I could zoom in and tell him, hey, this is how you answer it. Because if you keep answering it like Bobby's just the greatest, he kind of hesitated to say friend. Say friend. Who cares? You say that, these beat writers ain't going to ask you every fucking time that you're up here on the air. You know what I'm saying? It's like, just give them what they want. We're friends. We go out. We eat barbecue together. You do that, then there's no problem. There's no beef between you and Bobby Petrino, and we can move on and never have to ask this question again, So, yes, just keep coming out in harmony, saying these types of things. I guarantee you the dust will settle, and then all of a sudden people don't care who's coaching the ball. They just want to know how many points we're going to win by Saturday.
Yep. And then one other thing from Jimbo, Shane, I just thought this was incredibly well said. But obviously last year they had to play a lot of young players, but they were touting up that number 1 class, so you kind of expected it. But late in the season, it was just injuries and suspensions and things of that nature. They had to play so many freshmen, including Connor Wigman and many others, Evan Stewart, many, many others. But, I thought this was really well said because it and I see it everywhere, Shane, where if a freshman who's hyped up comes in and doesn't live up to the billing, a lot of these fans and a lot of this media, Shane, they're ready to throw this damn guy away. He can't play. He never will play. Here's Jimbo on walking that fine line. You don't want to put a young player into the game unless they're able to handle what you're going to ask them to do, because otherwise they get eaten up alive in today's landscape.
Ask you, looking back at last year, did you play more freshmen than you wanted to, or were you playing so many freshmen because you needed to?
It was a compromise. Some they were the best athletes. Some it was you had injuries and you had to. And then, like you say, it's like Connor. You bring Connor in a situation when he's ready for a situation. You want to bring all freshmen when they're ready, because what you never want to destroy in an athlete's confidence. You never want to put him in a compromising position. You say, well, he's got ability, but is he ready to play? And just because he's athletic doesn't mean he can play well. Just because he plays well doesn't mean he can play winning football. There's a difference. And you want to put those guys at those points when you feel they're ready and watch them by the consistency in which they play. Just because a guy does something, goes back to that philosophy. You don't practice it till you do it right. You practice till you can't do it wrong. And there's guys who can make plays. There's guys on the street that can make plays. But how many times in a row can they do it? Can they do it when they're tired? Can they do it in the fourth quarter? Can they do it in the biggest moments? Can they do it and understand that the momentum changes in the game, and where you have to really execute on every – you want to execute on every job, but understanding how to change the momentum of games. And so when you put a freshman in, has nothing to do with his ability. But no, if you're forced to, you're forced to. If you want to put them where you think they can handle the situation, because when they fail, it ain't failing like it used to be 30 years ago. They get destroyed. They get destroyed by y'all. They get destroyed by social media. They get destroyed by the fans. And whether you think that affects them or not, it does. It drastically does. And what they read about themselves, because that's their world today. So you can destroy a young player much faster than you can make him, and you got to be very careful. So you're talking about playing freshmen. You want to play them when you think they're ready to handle what you're asking them to handle. That still allows you to win the game.
Now, also, Shane, I think it's fair, and I've heard fans talk about this, but clearly with NIL, it's legal pay for play is what it really is. And so maybe there's going to be more of this to where people demand, you come in and you play and you do well. Like, I know we're hyped up on Nico, right? But
right.
God forbid if he comes out in his first game and he's not that good, he's going to get torn apart, and it may not even be Tennessee fans. It may just be the rest of the SEC saying, "Oh, they paid what for this guy?" It will never end. And we have. I'm not one of these old timers saying I wish it was like back in the day. Yeah. But I think Jimbo's 100% right. Where we gotta consider all this, man. And things are warp speed now. Patience is at a minimum. And I'm kind of rambling here, but it's an interesting time.
It is, and it's tough as a fan. It's not your job to pet these guys. You know what I'm saying? This is the coach's position. This is financial advisors. I'm sure they have. That's their position. But obviously there's expectations. But a lot of these kids are used to the spotlight already. By the time they make a Division I, they've been in the spotlight their entire year, college, high school career. Mm-hmm. And again, it's at a bigger stage clearly when you're at College Station. But you can break an athlete if you demand too much too soon, because some kids don't develop at the pace that you need them to. At some positions, need to be kind of marinated a little bit before you just throw them out there in the frying pan. And one prime example, I'm looking at Bo Nix. You know, how much, I mean, I guarantee Hugh Freeze would give his left nut to have him down there, down throwing football in Auburn right now. But now he's up here in Oregon making a name for himself and potentially the first quarterback drafted in the NFL. So Bo Nix is no better in Oregon than he was in Auburn. It's just he was expected to do more sooner and didn't get that opportunity to develop, especially with a coach that could develop him. So, I'm pumping the brake on some of these young kids. Some of them can handle it. They're just born for it. But there are a handful of these guys that you just got to be patient with, and if you are, it'll pay dividends in the long run.
You know what I would do, Shane? This would never fly. So this is just a fantasy. But shout out Stetson Bennett, who this is what he did during football season, and I feel like every freshman that gets to these campuses, say, can I please surrender your phone? Here's a flip phone, and just take this for a year. And it would probably help tremendously. You know what? But again, I realize
hard,
that
man.
would never happen.
It's hard. I know these kids. This is their life, man. I got a teenager, and it's kind of crazy.
How would that go over, Shane, if you took her phone and said, here's a flip phone? Would that fly?
I just told you we didn't have power for 4 hours. I thought we were going to lose her. I did. Brought her back to life twice, She coming out like a vampire looking at the sun. You know what I'm saying? These kids, they're just, this is Snapchats. I can't keep up with all of them. They got all these different platforms that they do. But, it's funny, even after COVID. Because you got to remember, these are COVID kids. A lot of them, had to stay in their house for a year and stuff like that. So they got used to this online presence and stuff. And it's funny because my daughter, she's messaging a girl that lives literally next door to us. And I'm like, why don't you just go over there? It's just like, no, she's Snapchatting back. It's like, I don't understand, but that's what these kids are. So it's tough for them to stay. I get it. You'd love to give them a flip phone and tell them just to ignore it. But it is tough because it's a big part of their lives.
Yeah, and I can translate that to SEC football, Shane. And one thing that I heard, I didn't plan on talking Florida Gators, but their new defensive coordinator, Armstrong, he's 29, so he's very close to the player's age, at least closer than most coaches. And his method, Shane, usually these players go into 45-minute meetings and they take notes and they watch film. He says that we cannot do that anymore. So the way he does it, 15-minute meetings. Yeah. And they go out on the practice field and do 15-minute walkthrough, and then they go back in and do 15 minutes of film and back out, and they do that 3 times instead of a 45-minute meeting because people just, especially young people, do not have the attention span to sit still for 45 minutes. And again, that's not. I mean, they're not going to win the national championship because of this, but hell, I mean, it's interesting, and he may be onto something there.
It's not just him, man. My old ass I can't make it through a movie anymore. I'll be sitting there looking at my phone. Next thing I'm looking to see what Mike tweeted, and I go down a rabbit hole and I'm look up and I'm like, how did he die? So I feel you, man. It's a different generation. You lose these kids after so long, but I don't even know how we got down. I'm about to put my Papaw glasses on and tell you how it changed, how we do things when I was a kid,
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Shane. They're not doing old school up in Kentucky with Liam Coen and Devin Leary uniting here for the first time. Of course, Liam Cohen's been at Kentucky, and he was a big reason why Will Levis got drafted, and he'll probably be a big reason why Devin Leary gets drafted in the next upcoming draft, Shane. I thought these comments were fantastic from Liam Coen, our outstanding offensive coordinator here, on Devin Leary. What a junkie he's such a junkie for film and all this shit. He's watching Hard Knocks from 5-6 years ago. And on the unlimited potential of Kentucky's quarterback. If I'm a Wildcats fan, I'm fired up as hell listening to these comments.
What's that relationship been like? Getting used to that,
Yeah, he's great. Devin, he's got a great way about him. He just has a really nice way of connecting with people, just so naturally. And he's a really high football IQ kid. He loves the game. He studies the game. Like last night, I called him on my way home. He was watching 2017 or 2016 LA Rams Hard Knocks. I'm like, well, how did you come to that? He's like, I just, ended up coming across it. I'm like, he's all ball, but extremely relatable to his peers, while also his coaches, and also he's talented. He's talented, so it makes it fun to really work with somebody like that.
Coach, he seems like he's a born leader. Is that right?
Very natural. Not rah-rah, not always out in front, having to be the guy to speak and be that kind of person, but he leads by example. He leads by the way he approaches the game, and like you said, that's natural.
To come through with his injury,
yeah,
to come back,
yeah,
that tells me he's a leader.
Oh, there's no question. He worked. He wasn't even really supposed to be throwing. When the doctor said, "Hey, when we're going to do this thing, we don't even know when you're going to be able to throw again," and he worked so tirelessly to get to the point that he got to. And he's throwing the ball even better than he did this spring, and he feels extremely strong. He's had a couple freak injuries throughout his career. I don't think he's a soft tissue, injury-prone kid. I just think he's had some unfortunate issues that have come up that have really driven him to become the player that he is.
Potential unlimited.
I think so. I really do. I mean, if we can keep him upright, we got a chance.
All right, Shay, but hey, this is what you're getting. I know we just said, hey, let's not hype everybody up, but it's different when we're talking a high school guy coming to college for the first time as opposed to someone that has been a standout in major college football. I realize the ACC is not the highest level of competition like the SEC, but hell, there have been many quarterbacks from that league to come into this and perform incredibly well. And it's more about the pieces around him. And we've been talking about it ad nauseum. Kentucky is potentially loaded if they can get this O-line right. And if Leary can stay healthy, man, I don't know. We keep saying it, but I don't think people are really understanding how good Kentucky can be this fall.
Yeah, it's like I feel like hot man, I feel like why are we having to promote? We're looking at the coaches poll and they're not top 25 to get Kentucky. Yeah, I think after 4 weeks, brother, that they're going to you talk about a team shooting up this list. This is them, and they're going to see it right and early because they got an easy schedule right out of the gate. Everybody knows this, but they got an opportunity, man, to highlight the quarterback that they have, which I think they'll do. They're going to work. They're going to stretch the field, brother. Kentucky's going to be fun to watch again. So just be ready. We're warning you right now.
Yep. All right, final team to hit on real quick here, Shane. Ole Miss, where Lane Kiffin whispered into a microphone down here in Oxford. But I keep hearing buzz, Shane, about this true freshman receiver, Aiden Williams.
Yeah.
And Kiffin was asked about him. He said, "You bet your ass I'm not going to rat poison my own freshman here. This is a name to know. Could be the breakout star of Ole Miss roster, Aiden Williams." Let's kick it over to Lane Kiffin.
He's whispering. Be ready.
We can see just from the time we've been out there that obviously Aiden Williams is really gifted. Obviously, there's a bunch of other stuff that goes into being a good receiver at this level. I'm curious where he's at kind of mentally and maybe in some of the things that are more in the margins.
Yeah, I'd kind of rather you guys just report about how great he is, so I can keep him humble and keep him working. But you guys see what I see, so still got a lot of work to do, but you can report what you see there. I'm not going to rat poison my own freshman.
There you go. At SEC Media Day, you were talking about the stuff that Quinshon needs to work on when it comes like footwork, and when we talked to Quinshon about it, he was talking about trying to be an all-around back this year. When talking about that, was that more just his ability as a receiver, or just trying to work him into way into the system where he can be used more as a receiver if needed?
Yeah, I think in year 2 with players, you take a next step, and everybody says that. Okay, the players got to get better at these little things, but you can also take the next step in doing more things, and whether that's a quarterback or a running back, and you can use a guy more in the passing game. Things that, in my opinion, when you first get him, you don't want to do all that, because then you never really get good at just being the normal running back. So we are looking at some things with him, and he's uniquely gifted for a bigger, stocky guy that he can play in the passing game, which a lot of times is not the case.
All right. So, again, Shane, we're needing receivers to step up.
Mm-hmm.
It's always dangerous to rely on a true freshman. I'm not sitting here saying he'll be day one, number one receiver, but he'll be in the rotation early based on what I'm hearing in camp down there at Ole Miss. So that's interesting. But what I knew you'd be fired up about is new ways to get Judkins the ball. Let's kick it over to Lane Kiffin one more time on his All-American running back Judkins and how his role should be increasing this fall.
He ain't afraid to spread a little rat poison on this one, is he?
Well, I think he knows Judkins, what he can do, what he can handle. And to your point, Shane, you were the first one I heard say this. The Heisman hype, it's very difficult for a running back to get it. But this is how it's going to happen, Shane, where you got to do more things. You got to catch the ball.
Right.
Touchdowns in a variety of ways. He'll probably throw a touchdown this year, Shane. They're mixing everything up, but this is what I want to hear because Lane Kiffin is just a master at knowing who is the best player and finding ways to get him the ball that the defense does not see coming, and he's going to be the key to potentially Ole Miss upsetting some people this fall.
Absolutely. I mean, you talk about a tool. Just not giving him the ball, the attention that he's going to receive moving around in that backfield. I mean, if you put him out in the flats and put him in motion out there, you're going to scare the shit out of some linebacker. I guarantee you right now. You're going to be bumping that head. Come on, I need some help over here.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, brother, that's all I got on this episode of the show. You got anything before we hop off the line?
No, this is, again, more football content. I love it. Absolutely love it. I love power. I love electricity. I want to thank all the Appalachian Electric out there for getting this podcast out today, even though they're not a sponsor of this show. Could you imagine? It's like we're able to do this show and go around the SEC and talk about these teams like not in the 30s. You know what I'm saying? Like, you scooch up to a radio as a family. There was no That SEC podcast coming on, So I was just thinking how great that is. We're able to get this news and content out to you, and we're going to have more of it this week. So be sure to subscribe to That SEC podcast on YouTube. Turn those notifications on, and as soon as we get some content, we're going to send it right to you.
Yeah, I can't thank everybody enough, Shane. The numbers are climbing. They're going crazy. Everybody's tuning in. Everybody's fired up for some SEC football.
Yeah.
We can't wait. But I just want to say thanks as always, Shane, for toughing it out, joining the show. Appreciate all the cousins out there for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.